it is your time.
I gotta say, I'm a big fan of The Walking Dead, and for the longest time I thought Michonne was the most kick warrior in the world, and then Okoye walks into the room, and I'm like, okay, now my life is a bit more complicated. What was your first reaction when you read the character of Okoye?
I was really excited about it. Mr. Ryan Coogler sat me down and said, this is this character I want you to play. And I was like, wow. I was like, that's pretty cool. Of course, the African component being that I'm from the continent, the idea of her being the head of a general, the head of his armed forces, and the complexity of her story. I was like, I've never seen this before.
You get to decide what kind of king you are going to be. Don't freeze.
I never freeze.
You're trading in the sword for the spear. What was that experience like?
It was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of hard work. There were some grueling hours learning how to work this very different weapon. And sometimes you're in a bit of a mind jam, you know what I mean? Because I try to use it like a sword. It's like, oh, this thing doesn't work like that, you know? And in some ways it has a similar form, but then in some ways it does not. And it's really long, and I'm used to something a lot more confined in size. So, I mean, there was a bit of a mind jam in the middle, and then Okoye broke through.
Show me my respect and bow down. We own ya, we own ya. We only getting started now, cause we own ya. Everybody think they know me now, cause we own ya. You and I'm a homie now, cause we own ya.
Of course, the hair, you have to shape it. And right now, I just gotta say, look, that looks amazing.
Thank you. It's a little ode to Wakanda. There's some Wakandan characters up in here.
Yeah. Was that sort of a daunting task to be like, whoop?
Yeah, it was. I mean, they wanted it quick. It was like right as we started pre-production, and I was like, what?
Can I have a moment here?
Exactly. I was like, because I just grown out my fro, because I have my hair short a lot.
Yeah.
But like dolphin smooth short, that was a whole other story. You know, it was a new thing, and I was jarred. I'd look in the mirror sometimes and be like, you know, have to catch my breath. I was so weirded out. And then after a while, it grew on me, and it was really empowering, actually, and I started to just rock it.
The world's gonna start over.
I'ma burn it all. What happens now determines what happens to the rest of the world.
How important is it to have this movie, this film, this cast be in theaters today in 2018?
It's crucial. I mean, it's so exciting. I mean, as we were creating it, the relevance that it was hitting on was so thrilling to me. I was like, wow, we're hitting on some stuff that hasn't been talked about yet, showing all the complexities within the African perspective, which often don't get explored.
And I think it's inspirational too. I mean, for all people of color. I mean, for me growing up, I didn't see anyone represented. And even seeing a movie like this is inspirational. I can imagine myself being a kid seeing this. When you were growing up, did you wish you kind of had someone like Okoye?
We didn't have anybody like this. We didn't have these images when I was growing up. The images were coming from a very specific Western perspective entirely. And so it wasn't like that. And I think that's really what feeds into this response that we're seeing, because we've not seen this before. It's breaking barriers, it's setting a precedent. And let's hope that it creates a norm and not an exception.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. Wakanda forever! The revolution.
Michonne versus Okoye. I mean, what would that matchup
Yeah, I
look
chatted
like?
about this once. I really think it would be interesting because they both fight. They don't fight easily. So for them to actually get to the point of fighting, they would really have to have been ready to do some damage. The other thing is the one fights with efficiency and rawness. She's just trying to get the job done. The other one fights with great form and tradition. So it's a question of who actually gets the upper hand as a result of those ways of approaching battle.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure.
Be televised.
Let's have some fun.
The revolution will be live.
Black Panther, just my review.
One word, yes.
Yes.